Okay, so what we got going on now is I got my pattern sketched onto the door, and I did some readjusting on it. So first I sketched it with a pencil, and now I'm going to come over with a marker to get some really good dark marks to follow when I'm carving it, because when you got sawdust and everything flying, it's really easy to lose your marks. Here's something I wanted to mention. I sketched it laying down flat, and then once I did that, I stood it up and done some readjusting, because and then backed away from it and looked at it, because when you're right up on close on something and it's laying flat, you can draw it on there and it looks good. Then you stand it up and back away from it, perspective can really look different. So I always like to stand my projects up and back away from them, where I get a better perspective of how they actually going to look. So now I'll go ahead and use the marker on it, and I'm using the Sharpies with the fine tip. That one doesn't have a fine tip, so let's try this one. That one looks pretty good. On these here, I would rather leave them a little thicker than too narrow to start off with, because when I carve it, if it's too thick, I can always carve more off, and then instead of taking too much off right off the bat. So I'd rather leave it a little heavy. You can see right there, that width there, this looks a little heavy, that looks a little thin. These circles get cut out, and the windows will be sitting inside there, so I gotta cut them out, and I gotta remember to leave a lip in here to give something for the window to set up against. So I'll cut them out, and then I'll leave my lip, and I'll route that lip out, so you'll get to see that too. So right here this is my initial circle, this line all the way around here. Then I got another one inside where I remember not to cut too much out. I kind of like things to just run off whatever the dimensions I got going on. You'll see in a minute where this leaf here just runs right off of it. I kind of like that. That's just personal preference. Alright, so I got to finish up that down there. I'll lay it back down for that, because I don't want to crawl around on the ground. So I'll start carving here in actually I'll cut these holes out here shortly, so stay tuned. Well, I cut this first one out to see how it was going to work out. Then I'll set the next one down here. I'll actually video it, but what I want to show you, see the thickness on this. Now, it would have been great if I could have found a jigsaw with a blade long enough to make it work on this, but I didn't have one, so I had to use the scroll saw, and which is this right here. And then I did some searching, but I found some pretty thin as far as the width of the blade here. Scroll saw, this is a rough cut one, and I found it's I don't know, let's see how long it is. Okay, so this blade here is 6 inches. Material is 2.5 inches. And now when you're cutting through this, so here's the line I need to be up to, but I didn't want to try to cut up to this with this here, and I'll tell you why. Because when you're cutting thick material like that, if you're off just a little bit in this angle when you're doing it, it could be taken more off the backside than what you're aware of. So I would rather go ahead and cut the hole out and then come in and clean it up using burr bits, or what I'm going to do first is get it fairly close with my angle grinder with this chainsaw disc here, this King Arthur disc. This is a Lancelot disc. So I'll get it fairly close with that, then I can finish it off with some burr bits, or let's see, what else could I use? I could use a barrel sanders too, that would work. So anyway, I'm gonna do a little bit, I'm gonna show you a little bit real quick with the angle grinder here.